I think about doing a trip in the Boundary Waters and consider doing a trip with individuals who have not paddled before, some of the things that I consider, you really want to break it down into steps, and I think it's most important to first consider looking at the abilities of the individuals who are on the trip. If people have paddled canoes or kayaks before, and if they have outdoor living skills, or if they're really fresh and green to the whole experience. But being that the Boundary Waters is a wilderness area and it's managed by the federal, the Forest Service, there are checkpoints in place where that all organized trips have to follow. So what you want to first consider is how long you intend to stay out. There are designated points of travel where you have an entry point that you have to get a permit for, and you have to outline your trip for the individuals in the Forest Service, making sure that they know where you're going to be going and when you're coming out. And one of the things that I've found that's real helpful for that is to look at a guidebook. There's many guidebooks to traveling in the Boundary Waters, and they actually have trips broken down into difficulties, from rugged to intermediate to just pleasure trips. And in those, they give just brief descriptions of how long the portages are, and the numbers of campsites on various lakes, the type of fish you might find, or wildlife you might find in the different areas. So I am a firm believer in sitting down and doing a little pre-trip planning, making sure that everybody's expectations of what we're going to be doing and where we're going to be traveling are meshing, and everybody's comfortable with the extent of what our trip is going to entail. And looking at that, some of the things you have to do are there's certain entry points in the Boundary Waters that are a lot more popular, and it's all kind of guided by a quota system where any given day X number of entries are allowed at certain points. So if you're planning to go into one of the more, just say an easier an entry point that might not have as many portages, it might not be as difficult, and a lot more paddling and less portaging. Those entry points are a lot more popular, and also and so they fill up a lot quicker, and you're going to want to make sure that you get right on the stick, even as early as April or February, March, April, something early in the spring to do your planning for this, because it's a very popular thing to do and a popular place to visit. When you're looking at these things, you also want to consider the type of equipment that's going to be necessary. It's not necessary for everybody to bring their own pots and pans and stoves. You want to break down who's got an operable stove, who's got the right kind of cookware, who's going to be doing the food, the menu preparation, and just really dial it in so that everybody's feeling like they have things that they can contribute to the trip planning. So once you've got your entry point picked out, you're comfortable with the amount of time you're going to be spending, you start to work on your menu, you get if people have not paddled before, you might want to do a little pre-trip paddling together, maybe even go over some procedural things like if a canoe was to tip over, how you'd get back in the canoe. And another thing that a lot of people don't realize, and they tell you this when you watch your informational video getting your permit, that there are black bears. So your food needs to be hung up, and you'll even go over a system by which you use a pulley system of hoisting your food up into the air each evening. So those are some things to consider when doing a trip. But the biggest thing about it is that you want to keep safety in mind, and it needs to be fun for everybody. And a trip like this should be fun and can be fun with the right preparation going into it. And all that takes a little bit of time and forethought.